Psalm 78. And this is going to be a long one, so I think it's going to be 3 parts. But I'm going to go through them as quick as possible, I believe, and see how I do. Okay, the only thing we need is those. And you can see this one has 72 verses. Listen, my people, to my instructions. Incline your ears to hear the words from my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us, forefathers. We will not conceal them from our children, but tell them to generations to come. And praise of YV and his strength, his wondrous works he done for us. Boy, I didn't think my voice would. I just got going to lunch and I thought I had talked long enough where my voice shouldn't have this scratchiness to it. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our forefathers that we should teach them to their children, that the generation to come might know I don't know, that looked like it can be doubled up again or cut. They may rise and tell that when they rise up. I'm thinking this could be cut in half again. That they may be put, that they should put their confidence in the Creator and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments, and not be like their fathers, a stubborn generation, a generation that did not prepare its heart, and whose spirit was not faithful to our Creator. The sons of emperor with archers, equipped with bows, yet they turned their back in the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant and refused to walk in his laws. They forgot his deeds and the miracles he had shown them. He wrought wonders before their fathers. He worked wonders before their forefathers in the land of Egypt, in the land of Zoan. He divided the sea. Divided the sea, caused them to pass through. He made the waters stand up like a heap. He led them with a cloud by day, and at night, this could be divided, this could be divided. He split the rocks in the wilderness and gave abundant drink like the ocean depths. He brought forth streams from rock, caused the waters to run down like a river. They continued to sin against him. I don't know if the word sin is right, because actually it was in the Sinai that our Creator told them about the commandments. Yet they continued to sin against him, to rebel against the Most High in the desert. Only some of them did. Only some of them did. In their hearts, they put God to test by asking for food according to their desires. Then they spoke against the Creator. They said, can God prepare a table in the wilderness? Behold, he struck the rocks so that waters gushed out and streams were overflowing. Now we know that there's an error here because up here, he's already broke the rocks up. He didn't do it too. Moses just didn't strike the rock here. The streams are already here. So we're going to have text that's going to be moving. Can he give bread also? Bread. Also provide meat for his people. Therefore a Creator heard and was full of wrath. A fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also mounted against Israel, because they did not believe that him, they did not believe our Creator, and did not trust in his salvation. Now this is a different kind of salvation here. So I'm going to have to find out how I can use a different word to make sure it's not confusing. He commanded clouds above, he opened the doors of heaven. He rained down on them to eat. Oops. And gave them food from heaven. Man did eat bread of angels. He sent them food in abundance. Only enough on Saturday to collect for Sunday. Caused the east wind to blow. He caused the east wind to blow in heavens, and that's only heaven. And by his power, he directed a south wind. When he rained meat upon them, like the dust, even the winged fowl, like the sand by the sea. Then he let them fall in the midst of the camp and round about their dwellings. So they ate and were filled, and their desire he gave to them. Before they finished their desire, while food was in their mouth, the anger of their courage rose against them. I'm not sure if that's really the story. Some were stoutest ones who sued the choice men of Israel. In spite of all this, they sinned and did not believe. They still sinned and did not believe in his works of wonders. He brought their days to an end, and their years in sudden terror. Then he killed them. Then they sought him. I don't think that's true. Everybody should know the story that when Moses was in the Sinai, the first thing that did happen was they were complaining about There's no water for their animals and them to drink and then the food. And so that I understand the complaint there. But when it talks about ending their days, this was the time when I don't know which family group came in front of him, but told him that who decided that you lead us out here in the desert? And when Moses talked to our Creator told them to separate themselves from him or from that group, and the earth opened up and swallowed them. This is when he killed them. This is what that is talking about. And then they sought him, and they returned to search diligently for. They didn't need to do this. He was with them in the desert. See, so some of this stuff, is not correct. Some of it is very true. And they remembered that our Creator is their rock, and the Most High God, their Redeemer, and their Redeemer. He redeemed them out of Israel, or out of Egypt. But they deceived him with their mouths and lied to him with their tongue. Their heart was not steadfast towards him. I'm thinking we got two different mixed up in here, because we know that they're going into the promised land. So they did not deceive him with their tongue, nor did they lie to him. I mean, they just got done witness some awesome miracles. The plagues, he leading them by a pillar of fire at night, a cloud by day. He spoke to them from a cloud. So but he, being compassionate, forgave their iniquity, did not destroy them. Often he restrained his anger, it did not all his wrath. Thus he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passes and does not return. Now, our Creator knows exactly what we are, so this how often they rebelled against him. See, here we're in the wilderness and grieved him in the desert. Now, the only thing is there's no stories that say that. Again and again, they tempted God and pained the Holy One of Israel. Oh, wait a second, that's not reading right either. They did not remember his power, the day when he redeemed them. And that was adversary. When he performed signs in Egypt, or when he performed plagues in Egypt, and those marvels in the land of Zol. Well, this must have been the location that they were. The Pharaoh had them gathered together to be his slaves. So this must have been Zoan. Now I know that you would have to be next to Pharaoh, because the Zoan can't be field of Zoan, but they had to be by the river to get the clay for the bricks if they were making bricks. So I'm not sure if the field is right. His marvels, I would put by the river Nile, by the river banks of the Nile, to be truthful. They turned their river to blood, and their streams they could not drink, their waters they could not drink. He sent them swarms of flies, which devoured, which covered them, and the frogs which destroyed. If you know about the frogs are, they needed, the Pharaoh asked them to stop the frogs. So our Creator just killed all the frogs, or they were there and they had to be picked up, and they were in piles, and the rot was smelling. So, and the frogs then were rotted. He also gave their crops to grasshoppers, which is the locusts, and the produce of their labor to the locusts. That's pretty much, he destroyed their vines with hailstones and their sycamore trees with a frost. That's wrong. That's a lie. He gave over their cattle to the hailstones and the herds to lightning bolts. No. Now, this doesn't, there's no story how these were killed. They just woke up and their cattle were dead. And when the Pharaoh went to look at the cattle for the slaves, there was none dead in the field. I don't see that happening at any time. He leveled a path in his anger. He didn't spare their soul from death. Your soul can't die. He gave over their life to the plague and smote all the firstborn of Egypt. The first in the tents of Ham. Ham is Canaan. Canaan has nothing to do with the blessings of our Creator. So that's junk. But he led forth his own people like sheep and guided them into the wilderness like a flock. He led them in safety. He led them in safety so they did not fear, but the sea engulfed. Yet there's sea engulfed. Yeah, there's a verse missing there. I would say it's somewhere belongs to this one. So he brought them to his holy land, brought them to their promised land, to this hill country, which his right hand gained for us. He drove out nations before them, and he appointed them for an inheritance. By measurements, the tribes of Israel dwelt in their tents, yet they tempted and rebelled against. Well, there is only one Creator, not the Most High Creator. That's obvious. I mean, somebody, the editing going on here is kind of, don't know the stories, but turned back and accepted treachery. Like their forefathers, they turned aside like a treacherous bow. Then they provoked him with their high places and aroused his jealousy with their graven images. When the Creator heard, he saw, he was filled with wrath, and really abhorred Israel. Now this is summing up. Now we're having a summary of way after. Here he divided up the promised land. Okay, and then down here, this is a big jump. This takes place after King David. So you have from Moses. Let me show you. Here's the problem with what's going on. The text starting off coming from Egypt. Okay, so what we have is way up here where Moses is coming out. This is the promised land that they just divided up. Now there's 300 years missing. I'm guessing at that. Because there is no judge that I could put in here and rely on it as that is the stories to follow. What we have is all of a sudden Eli is a judge, and he's there for 4 years is what the text says. And then Samuel is the judge. Then Saul becomes a king, but Abner ruled for 4 counts, which I'm thinking are 5 weeks, 5 7-day weeks, and for the 10 tribes. But here the tribes were already divided, okay? David put them back together because Abner came and put them together under David. They agreed. And then when Abner was leaving, one of David's commanders killed him. Now, when Solomon ruled, now all these years that you see here, they just went and kind of skipped by, because over here is when I've got, this is Israel and this is Judah. Now when you come over here, yes, he's the one that, when he first started off, he established Bethel as his capital, but he put the altar for a foreign god in there and told them they can't go to Jerusalem. Then one of his sons became there, and then he was killed, and then a son from Solomon came and ruled. But see this, he loses East Manasseh, okay? Now when the text just said Ephraim, up here, where's Ephraim? They had bows. Did I go by it? No, here. And they turn their backs in the day of battle. See, this would be more or less Manasseh, not Ephraim. Ephraim, when did they turn their back to battle? Now I know that when you look at the promised land here, when they went in, these 3 wanted this land over here, so they left their wives and children over here as they went in to conquer the promised land. So they didn't really nobody turned their back at any time. And then we come back here, and we know that down here, way down here, is when this king loses all those territories. See, this is the first territory to lose, okay? And then years later, not these 3. These 3 stayed under rule, but first they took the rest of this, you know, so I have the name missing. But then down here, they were taken, and then these 3, because you can see that I have listed down here to say what had happened. Say, no king for pride, and then they lose those 3. Then if they're talking about Ephraim turned from battle, this if they're talking about Ephraim turned from battle, it would have been the end of just these last 3. Or they didn't fight here for them. But there's no text, I don't believe, of that story. Now you caught up to what I kind of know generally. And when you're reading this and seeing this, this is completely here, there, pieces being thrown back and forth. So I guess doing a pretty good job getting through this. So Peter was filled with wrath and greatly abhorred Israel. Now, yes. Now, what this means, the whole, let me pull that up, because it's important for people to know why was our Creator so mad? And that's because okay, I've got it in the wrong group here. Malachi 2:11. Judah, this is talking about the kingdom. They have married the daughter of a foreign god. The only way you can marry the daughter of a foreign god is to meditate, means sitting in darkness. And then you have this, I call it a sex with this so-called female goddess. Even though you don't know this, this is what this means, that they all went on and started marrying. That's why he gave them away. See, it started in East Manasseh, and then it spread throughout all of Israel. That's why they were sent off into captivity. This answer is right here. Now, when it comes down to the warning for Judah, Jeremiah comes through here, and he's talking about it. He refers to her as the Queen of Heaven. And then they were out there making plenty of foods and pouring out their libations. Pouring out libations down here, I guess. Pouring out libations to her, making vows to her. And also she's mentioned in Revelation. So being the mother of all whores, yes, anyone having this sex with her would be, anybody can. It's not a sexual, it's a sexual experience, okay? It's, a man's penis will stand up and bounce around, but have no release. So that's what I call a sex with this female goddess. And then there's chemicals adjusted into your body, and things happen. Like once a year, a male's penis retracts inside his body. So I know you don't know that. I know this. So when it comes down to why Israel was, why he hated them, is because they were all against his commandment to not be unto another god. And right here, she was known as the daughter of a foreign god. See this? So now you've learned something you never knew before, but you shouldn't know it because it's the heart of what's going on here. Who do you think's editing the text today? So he abandoned their dwelling places. At Shiloh, the tent. That might be which he had. So he abandoned, because Shiloh is the city where the priest lived at, and where there would be inns and things for people to stay there while they went down or over to the tent for meeting with him to make their offerings. And so this would have been of some distance between them. I'm thinking half mile at the most, but the object is it has to be a distance away from them, because that's the city, and then by Shiloh was his tent, which he had made them pitch or made him put up, because you remember it's got to have a fencing around it. And he gave up his strength to captivity. Now he didn't give up nothing. His glory to the hand of the adversary. See, that can't happen. here's why this can't happen. For the simple fact that we know David moved Shiloh long time before Israel even became a kingdom on its own, for the second time anyway. Let me see here. Okay, yes, this one's got Shiloh on it. Shiloh is right here, my best guess estimate, because when they crossed the river here, they went down to here to take on Jericho. Now, Jericho was the capital city for the king of Canaanites, okay? And what happened is then they went up this valley to here. You got to understand, this is 2,000, is it 2,000 feet below sea? To understand the land, I want to put up something real quick here. And that's the Jordan River. When you see the Jordan River is way down here where Jericho's at, and Jerusalem is up here. Okay, so that said, let's go back to where is the map? Jerusalem. No, Shiloh is here. So the wording is just not true. The wording is just wrong about the tent, and then he gave it all. Then he gave it to the hand of their glory. It was already Jerusalem, so this is just not right. He also gave his people to the sword and was filled with wrath of his inheritance. It's not. Jesus is the one inheriting the people, okay, to serve in his kingdom. So, fire devoured the young men, and his virgins had no wedding songs. His priests fell by the sword. Well, yeah, if you ever read Ezekiel, you'll find that all the priests were facing the east and having this practice with this female goddess, and that's why it's in the east. You know that they call Venus the goddess of Venus. Notice the pagan name still on the planet Venus when it rises up. Well, it only is up and then down there in the morning for just a little bit, but the object is they tied that east and Venus over there as a female goddess, and they also tied the moon to the moon goddess as well, because it's the moon days that if they keep track of. Let me see here. This here, see this? This is Venus rising in the morning, but on this day here, with the crescent moon on that day, is when you can have this experience I was telling you about when you're meditating. And you notice it's in the morning. It's before the sun rises. Now, here is what's known as, if you search the word Kundalini on the web, you'll see these images. And all these images, see them sitting in darkness and having this experience. They're all telling you what's going on with their body on the inside here. So it's not like I'm making this up. They're doing this still today. In fact, all religions are based on this. The words in the Bible are not a religion. They just have you talked into saying it's just like another religion. No. What makes the Bible different is our Creator spoke to or spake to people, okay, one-on-one. He ascended down to earth. He walked and talked to Abraham. He talked to Moses. He talked to Adam and Eve. And no other so-called religion is like, has a God. That's why if they go to theologian school, you have to describe it as the God of Abraham. And God is only a title. It's one of our Creator's many titles. He has a name, and he's Redeemer, he's Creator, he's Father, he's Lord. So there's many things here that our Creator is given as titles. But as you see down through here, they've got all these symbols and all this stuff. Here's the word if you want to look it up. But they don't tell you how to do this, even though they think they're special. Okay, it's not. Because see, what they do is after this experience, they think they become gods, okay? But they don't, they aren't. In the East, they know that if they meditate, just meditate and not have this special experience, because they know not to have this so-called experience, they're waking up before that happens so they can control the times. But if they when they meditate, they're waking up at, say, I'm thinking between 1 and 3. I'm not sure which Buddhist or how they do this, but I just know that they do wake up very early in the morning. But the object is that if they meditate every day, and I mean every day, sit and meditate, not lay down and sleep, after 10 years, they can talk to another being that just comes to them. Now, I have a video link below in my description that will actually allow you to experience the same thing without having a female goddess practice. And that's unique because it is repeatable. Any male, I'm sending males out there from 13 up because it's safe enough if you do it 3 times, but don't be challenging them. Because when you start to challenge them, they'll kill you. And if you're righteous, though, if you're a righteous male and they try to kill you, our Creator will redeem you. And then when you open your eyes up back here on earth, you too will say the same thing I am saying. Our Creator made me see him. Okay? But I'm just saying that this practice is all what they're talking about here in the text when they talk about female goddess, or when I'm explaining the things about female goddess. Or sleep, like, our Creator doesn't know what's going on, like a warrior overcome with drunk. He drove his arrows backwards. He put them in an everlasting reproach. He also rejected the tent of Jacob or Joseph, and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but he chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. Now see, now hear how they're trying to refer to Mount Zion as the place where Jerusalem was built. And yet we know that in the description box below, I tell you how, or the place where heaven is located. So in that mountain is definitely the sky, or the stars, the way they move in motion. North Star is its peak, but there's only one Bible that really reveals that information. And he built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth, which he has founded forever. He has also chosen David, his servant, and took him from the sheep's fold, from herding, and cared the suckling lambs. He brought them to the shepherd Jacob and his people Israel, his inheritance. He also shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them with skillful hands. Okay. How are we doing here on time? 40 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go up here to the top. Okay. Listen, my people, to my instructions, and incline your ears to the words of my mouth. That's pretty good. I will open my mouth in a parable and utter, they're not dark sayings unless you're sitting and meditating. I will utter sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our forefathers have told us. We will not conceal them from our children. All of a sudden you can tell the writer isn't a Hebrew, and they gave it away. He's not an Israeli. We will not conceal them, children, but tell them. And I think that needs to be that type of them, where it means we're talking about the things our Creator did to the generations to come. Praise YHVH's strength. Well, I don't think that needs to be there. And tell the generations to come with praises with their praises. Well, maybe I just become a non-Israeli, right? Our praises, their praises. And it would be to YHVH. Okay. With our praises to YHVH for his wondrous works. He done. For he established testimony on Jacob. No. His everlasting covenant / promises started with Abraham. And I guess I could show you that real quickly to show you that Jacob is no wrong words here. When our Creator was establishing his everlasting promises, Genesis 17:6. Okay. And kings shall come forth from you. Genesis 18:18. And Abram will become great and mighty nation. Well, actually, there's two nations, Esau and Jacob, who became Israel. And in him all the nations of the earth will be blessed. This means, when we go to Genesis 22:18, we see, in your seed all nations of the earth shall be blessed, meaning from the seed of Abraham and then from the seed of David will come our king. Because if you read it, all nations of the earth will be blessed. This is the first text you can really find about Jesus. So this is when he starts making his everlasting promises, is with Abraham. That's why a lot of the text refers to Abraham as their forefather and not Jacob. And his promises some might say covenant, but when you understand that it's over time that he changes or he adds to his covenant, that they become promises, 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 not in Jacob, to Abraham. Okay, now we have the right person there. Okay, and now Jacob, who is Israel, he appointed his laws, or he appointed his commands, because he gave them many commands. To Israelis in the Sinai, did he not? Okay, now we know that he gave it to them, these laws. Okay, now I'm just trying to correct what I'm seeing as wrong. And I'm showing you, and I'm telling you why, what's right or wrong. Because a law is different than his commands, because his law does not cover a statute. Now, a statute is like male circumcision. They have no choice about this. Because if they didn't circumcise their son, they were just cut off from living within his nation and entering into heaven. And he had, let's see, commandments, and those aren't laws. Commandments are sins. You needed a sin offering to be forgiven to stay in the nation of Israel, and later to enter into heaven. But the object here is you can't just use the word law or laws until you understand that there are commands, and then that covers what I'm talking about. And then we would have this as a grouping. That is a good grouping, okay? Now this becomes a good group. Wow. I have to take a look at that because well, list my people, then you wouldn't need to incline your ears. Well, I'm going to look at that a little bit later. Which he commanded our forefathers. See, when you add the right word, you start understanding what's going on here. He commanded our forefathers. And I should not say should. You don't want should. Don't want should there. To teach them to their children. And this them has to relate to his commands. Okay? And the general to the children, and all generations to come. Not know, might is not something they are to know. To come to know. All generations come to know. That might even be way up here. And yeah, you're getting the feel of what I'm trying to say, because the text was trying to say that, but I'm seeing that maybe I added it. Teach them to their children. Even the children yet to be born, that may arise and tell them to their children. Well, I'm saying this, and I'm saying this. Now I'm saying this. Now I'm saying this. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I have to keep looking at it. That they should, they are to put. They are to put their confidence in our Creator. They also referred to him as the Creator of Israel, Creator of the nation Israel. And not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. And not be like their forefathers, stubborn. I'm seeing that I could use some of these words to put in here at the top and make it a 4-verse. Some will have to be gone, not like their generation. Okay, I'm getting on 52 here, so I'm just wanting to make sure I get the format. So right now I'm seeing a constant 4-verse, but then there's 3 here and there's 3 here. Then it comes back to 4. So worth archers, equipped with bows. Yet they turn back. That could be either or. That could be 3-verse or 2-verse. They did not keep the covenant of our Creator. They refused to walk in his commands. They forgot his deeds. They turned away from his deeds. They didn't forget them. They turned from his deeds, his miracles. He had shown our forefathers, and then these are them. His wonders before their forefathers. Whoops, okay, I think I've gone far enough here to say I'm going to take a break and come back with part 2. But these are really dividing up into 2 4-verse real good here. So let me continue in the next round.